Welcome. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Final Whistle here on the Bama Standard Network, where it is your number one content for Alabama football. And before I get to my amazing cast, hit that like, subscribe button here on the Bama Standard Network. Jump in that chat right now, all you Bama fans and the one Auburn fan that jumps in the chat. Chris, please jump in the chat. But guys, this is the Final Whistle. We got a lot to talk about. Alabama football related, SEC Media Days, recruiting, SEC opponents. We're going to get into it. But before we start, let's introduce the cast. Ladies and gentlemen, to my immediate left, the one and only Mr. Around the Table Sports. He does it all. The guy who is giving YouTube a hard time for taking his precious time uploading his videos. I know he's aired out his frustration. I hope he was able to go through some meditation. The one and only Ty Hayes, everybody. How are you, Ty?
Man, I almost caught a case whenever YouTube took an hour and a half to upload the video. I was just sitting here staring at the screen. Just got out of a two-hour live stream and now happy to be here.
Let's go. We're so glad to have you here, Mr. Around the Table Sports. Follow Ty. He does an amazing job. And right above him, guys, the guy who invented Jack Daniels and Coca-Cola mixed together, the one and only Daniel Petty. How are you?
Man, I'm not as old as the helmet behind me, but I guess I'll take credit for that. I need some royalties, but man, hey, glad to be here with my fellas on a Tuesday night.
I know, man. We're glad to have you as well. And ladies and gentlemen, Dancing Dan James, our lead recruiting analyst, you know, wherever he is, he will leave the light on for you, all the older ladies out there. Dan James, how are you today, sir?
I'm fine. Now, just to make this clear, ladies, I'm unfortunately, I am off the market. I'm a happily married man, regardless of the consensus on this panel here. But how's everybody doing tonight? You know, it's been a great past weekend for us, and you know, we'll get into that later. But yeah, y'all be sure to hit that like and subscribe. You know, we're finna have a fun show tonight.
Let's go. Speaking of a fun show, this show is so complimentary when we have our resident Debo and Thor. Final Whistle, Lushan, one of our great analysts. How are you doing today, sir?
Man, it's finally here. SEC Media Days. Some big news happened in recruiting over the weekend. I'm excited. Let's get it on.
Let's get it on. No pauses. No pauses. We're going, okay, I'll leave it at that. But yeah, hit that like, subscribe button. Thanks for tuning in, all you guys in the chat. Shouts out to Mimi, Lushan, Bob Rutherford, Keith Holcomb, Goof, Daniel Bear Sports Highlight. Happy Tuesday. Thank you all for tuning in to the Final Whistle. Again, hit that like, subscribe button. And if you want, oh my goodness, what a surprise.
Tuned in.
Guess who tuned in, running straight from the kitchen, the one and only. He puts, the reason he has K in his name is for the word kitchen. Number one in your hearts, number 32 on the field, Chris K. James Sr. How are you, sir?
Man, I'm wonderful, man. That grease was popping, man. And then I said, oh, Lord, the final whistle. So I made a day.
Well, we're glad you're here. We're glad you made it. In the last second, right before speaking of popping, if you want your business popping like fish grease, go to workspacesolutions.com. If you want to take your digital online presence to the next level, go to workspacesolutions.com, Workspace Solutions at workspacepros.com. That's Workspace Solutions at workspacepros.com. If you want your business to be popping hot like hot grease. Guys, let's get to it. Let's get to our first topic. We're going to kind of dive into the season. Let's talk about Missouri, those Missouri Tigers out of the Show Me State. They got a lot returning. Luther Burden, Brady Cook. They beat Ohio State last year. They're getting a lot of momentum. We know it's the offseason. Do you think, can Missouri show Alabama and beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa this year? And we're going to start with my main man at top, Mr. Dan James. Give us your take.
Well, can they? It's a possibility, but highly unlikely. Missouri they're a formidable foe, but they lost their entire defensive staff to LSU, I believe. So, and being that the game is in Tuscaloosa and Bryant-Denny, I just don't see it happening, but we will know more, once after the first couple of games, we'll know where we are as a team. But I can't imagine Coach DeBoer and his staff with their ability to motivate the players to not be ready for this game. It's going to be an electric atmosphere, So, I just do not see it happening at all.
Lil Sean, what are your thoughts about those Tigers? I know you hate Tigers. About these guys, these cats in Mizzou.
I actually have a little bit of respect for this team. They're not orange, so that's always a factor in that. But still, these kiddies want to talk, so I'm gonna let them. I'm gonna pounce on them. They've lost a lot of key players off that defense last year to the NFL, and like Dan said, they lost their entire defensive staff. They also lost their running back, and to beat Alabama, like it's been in the past, you have to have either a quarterback or a running back go off in the running game. And from what I've seen, I don't see anybody that's scaring me too much to think that they're going to beat us. So, and on the other side, with them losing all the pieces they lost in their pass rushing and secondary, how are they going to stop our offense? I don't see it. Can Missouri beat us? No, they can't. I'll jump on that side. They can't beat us.
You hear that, Mizzou fans? Get in the chat and disagree with our panel. Patty, I want to get your take, but I want to add on to it. Is the buzz real regarding the Missouri Tigers? I mentioned Bolden, the receiver, Cook. They got some offensive weapons. I know it's the offseason. Do you think their buzz is legit?
Absolutely, and it's for multiple reasons. I mean, you got a returning starter at quarterback and Cook who had a great year. And look, Luther Burden gets all the publicity, and rightfully so. He's probably the best wide receiver in college football, but that's not his only weapon. Like you mentioned, he's got Theo Weiss, who's a big game receiver. I had Cooper, Josh Manning, who's a young guy that they expect, but a lot of veteran studs that are seniors that he's got to work with. And when you look at their schedule, it's probably the most manageable schedule in all of the SEC. The one big glaring thing is the game we're talking about right now is that when they have to come to Titletown, Tuscaloosa. But outside of that, I mean, they go to Texas A&M, but they got Auburn at home. But right after Bama, they got Oklahoma at home. But then it's at South Carolina, at Mississippi State, Arkansas at home. Again, it's a very manageable schedule for a team that just came off a win against Ohio State and is pretty, loaded again on the offense. And what teams beat Alabama traditionally? They're teams that's got a quarterback that gets white hot, that has receivers that can stretch the field, that are big time receivers. And Burden is an NFL type guy. And man, one thing, if you look at scheduling, not only is Missouri's schedule really good, it shapes up at a great time for Alabama. They're right in the middle of an Alabama road Tennessee LSU sandwich. Now they get a week off, but Bama gets a week off before LSU. But still, you've got two massive SEC road games that are on top and bottom of that Missouri coming to town. So, you got to get up for three big ones in a row, and Missouri is going to pack a punch. However, it took a lot of miracles for them to get the wins they did last year. They did catch an Ohio State team that probably wasn't as prepared for them. And some dumb coaching at LSU, a miracle field goal here or there, and that's not the same Mizzou team. And I'm like Lou, I don't think they got the guns to come into Titletown and beat a team like Alabama. They're good But look, I kind of compare them to Ole Miss. They're really good. They're really sexy. They're going to win the games they're supposed to, but I don't think they have enough to beat a team like Alabama, especially in Bryant-Denny.
Great analysis. And ladies and gentlemen, let's go to Ty Hayes, Mr. Around the Table Sports, which he specializes in college football, and he's our panel legal analyst. Now I want you to present the case of why, Ty, Missouri could beat Alabama, how they could present a lot of threats that Petty mentioned, the manageable schedule, coaching staff, those type of things, and just kind of go in depth because I know you spent a lot of time regarding the buzz that Missouri has, and just kind of go in depth on why they could beat Alabama.
Well, I mean, first off, it's any given Saturday, so of course they could, right? I mean, Missouri was a pretty good team this past year, and a little bit of a hot take. I think that whenever I look at Cook versus Dart, I might take Brady Cook over Jackson Dart if I was starting right now. I'm sorry, Jackson's good, but I don't know.
I don't think that's a hot take at all. Actually.
Yeah, listen, and that's not to say that he's not a great quarterback. Jackson Dart is a weapon. But Cook did some really good things last year.
Yep.
And if you want me to present the case of how they could, football's a game of matchups, right? I mean, okay, let me go back to the UFC. Conor McGregor versus Khabib Nurmagomedov, right? Like, you're talking about a guy with unbelievable striking, but Khabib presented a threat that Conor had never seen, and that was the wrestling. Like, sure, Conor had fought some wrestlers before, but not like Nurmagomedov. And so the first time Nurmagomedov dropped him, was actually because he had set up the takedown threat earlier in the fight. Dipped his head, went for the takedown, got it. Well, the second time he does it, instead of going for the takedown, he throws the overhand right, catches Conor on the chin, and sets him down. Right? And I bring all of that to you to say, what's the biggest question we have right now for Alabama's defense? Not in terms of talent. We know the talent's there, but they're young. The secondary. What's arguably Missouri's biggest strength? That wide receiver room with a quarterback that has a rapport with all of those guys. And they have some great wide receivers. Now, I don't anticipate Alabama to lose to Missouri. Let me be very clear here. I would pick Alabama to win that game. One, and the big reason why I think Alabama's defensive front is going to present problems for Missouri, even though they did a really good job getting some pieces on the offensive line. Caden Green coming from Oklahoma, Caden Green being a very highly rated offensive lineman. But two, they lose Cody Schrader. They've lost some pieces in the defensive coaching staff. They've lost some pieces in the secondary themselves, but Cody Schrader made that offense go. And Petty, to your point, I think that the counter argument for me, right? Like if you wanted to say I'd take Dart over Cook, your counter argument that I would have no answer for is, what is Cook going to do whenever he doesn't have that Swiss Army knife next to him that really was a catalyst of that offense? I mean, as much as we can talk about Burden, as much as we can talk about all these guys, Cody Schrader was maybe the best kept secret in college football last year from Missouri. And if you were to present me that, I have no answer for you. I have none. Zero. So that, to me, is the biggest question for the Tigers, why I don't believe they'll beat Alabama. But anybody can get anybody. It's any given Saturday, right? You overlook somebody, you take a few blows early, could be tough. But I have Alabama winning that game.
Great take right there. Chris, I'm gonna ask the question a little bit different for you. Ty kind of alluded to it a little bit. Do you think, this is your question, do you think Missouri will present our secondary with the toughest matchup from any of our opponents this fall? With Luther Burden?
Perhaps with the style, with from a talent perspective, maybe. But you still have other, like Tennessee's passing game to deal with Heupel. You still have Oklahoma, who has some underrated stud receivers.
Yeah.
You still have to deal with LSU. They always have receivers, in Death Valley. You get what I'm saying? So I will rank them up there, as far as talent wise, because like Petty alluded to earlier, Luther Burden may be the single best receiver in college football, but he has a great cast around him. But it's just hyper scheme at Tennessee. It's tough. It's tough to defend, and those animals at OU, man, like those guys, man, they are gonna surprise a lot of people with their wide receiver room that they have. They have a few studs in there, so it's going to be a challenge. Either way you look at it, because like they said, we're breaking in pretty much a new secondary. But what makes me feel comfortable is the fact that we went out and got a outstanding corner with very much with a high upside and a lot of potential in Domani Jackson, and that's huge, man, to have that type of size in a zone scheme, which means he can, a guy that can cover a lot of ground. We went and got a veteran from Wake Forest and Jones, who I think could solidify the other corner, and it also gives you the option to keep freshmen from having to throw freshmen in there too early, because the last thing you want to do is throw a freshman in there and kill his confidence, because PS2s don't grow on trees. Like Patrick Surtain was like a unicorn, for what he did, and most freshmen took their lumps. And the only game I can remember him taking his lump was against CD Lamb. So you don't really want to have a true freshman relying upon them to have to deal with that type of offense. Like what they're going to see from Missouri, man, it's gonna be like this, man. They're gonna move the ball. They're gonna, if they get in the rhythm, man, next thing you know, you're in a shootout, because I don't expect them to stop us. You know what I'm saying? I don't expect them to stop us. But however, like Ty said, I think our defensive front is going to neutralize their offensive line. I think we're going to cause problems, which in turn will kind of knock them off of their rhythm. So all in all, man, I think Missouri may put up some points, but I don't think they'll be able to stop Bama. I think Bama probably going to score at will, with them losing their whole staff and losing Enos Rakestraw to the NFL and other players. It's going to be tough sledding for them trying to stop us. So I would be more worried about, can Missouri stop Alabama, more so than can Alabama stop Missouri, because Alabama's going to get stops, but can Missouri get stops? So that's what the game is going to boil down to.
Great take right there. Regarding Missouri, anything? Let's say when Burden comes to Luther Burden comes to Tuscaloosa, do you think it's going to be kind of like under Saban? Let's say Dominique Jackson is in the Kool-Aid McKinstry role, where he kind of shadows the best receiver. Will we have that type of adjustment in our defense, or is there a difference between Womack's defense and Saban's defense? As far as a guy going to the top dog receiver?
Yeah, from my understanding, this defense is going to have a field corner and a boundary corner, from our understanding. So it won't be a matchup, man, press man. So it's more of a boundary corner versus field corner.
Okay.
And that's a lot, because we play a lot of zone. So, and Saban played a lot of match, like two read, you read number two, and it's a type of defense. Like if a guy breaks this certain way within a certain amount of yards, then they pick. It's like a kind of playing like an in and out with the safety and corner or whatnot. But pretty much we're going to see a lot of zone. So it's going to be more so something like rolling the coverage to, just say if Burden, we might roll to a Burden side or something, roll the coverage to Burden with a, or just little adjustment, little tricks or whatnot. But it's a way to slow guys like that down with bracketing them and just doing little things. So I don't expect Kane Womack to sit up there and pull a golden and just let one receiver kill him all game.
Yeah. I mean, Nick Saban talked about this today. I'll be very brief here, and then we'll move on. Nick Saban talked about this today whenever he was talking about what made defending Sark impossible. And it's because Alabama employed pattern match, and Sark's offensive scheme was very good at putting your defensive backs in really uncomfortable positions that they weren't used to seeing. We're now flipping from a pattern match scheme to a vision and break scheme. So I think that's going to be far more conducive to success, especially when you're talking about a young secondary.
Right.
I think it's going to be a bit easier to pick up. No, I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I think it's on the scale of pattern match to vision. I think it's easier for a young secondary to kind of be able to play off of instincts as opposed to having what I like to refer to as a pilot's checklist before they ever get to what they're really settling in on.
Yeah. To a freshman, pattern match is calculus. Zone, the type of defense they're going to play, zone is pretty much algebra 2. It's just pretty much what it is to in that type of sense.
This would be a perfect question for next week's guest.
Yeah, let's take these topics. We got some good topics going on in our chat right now. But yeah, let us know your thoughts about Missouri, the Tigers. Can they come to Tuscaloosa and beat the Crimson Tide? So, guys, we're going to shift gears to another opponent. The guys who are just, they might bark at adults on game day. I'll save the driving jokes for later. But, guys, let's shift gears from Missouri to Athens. Can Georgia, and we know they're getting a lot of momentum, Kirby Smart was at SEC Media Days. Georgia's getting a lot of buzz. They'll probably be preseason ranked number 1 in the country. Carson Beck, Etienne, Delp at tight end. They got a lot of talent, a lot of experience, but they're no longer playing St. Mary's school 8th grade middle school volleyball team, Missouri State, Kentucky Southern. They're actually playing a real SEC schedule. So that poses the question to my panel: can Georgia survive a real SEC schedule this upcoming year? And we're going to go reverse order. I'm going to go with Petty. He seems very excited to discuss this topic. We go Petty, Lushan, Ty, Dan, then Chris.
Well, first of all, the Georgia fans excited about venturing into an actual SEC schedule in video game land are apparently all kind of pissed off because they have to attend AA classes and mandated driving school just to play the game. And then it's another couple hours of bailing their players out of jail to be able to fill the team. So that they haven't even been able to play the game. Several days of just pre-work. But no, man, look, they're preseason number 1. I get it. They haven't lost in the regular season in 3 years, but that's because what you just alluded to, Matt, their schedule has kind of been favorable almost every year. Look, and they're really good. They're better than all those teams, but they just don't usually have the road games against monsters. And look, I think they've got 4 toss-ups on the schedule this year. You've got, and I'm not even counting Clemson at the beginning because let's be real, I think Clemson's their day is their sun. The sun is set on Dabo and the Tigers from Carolina. But 4 toss-ups: Alabama, Texas, at Ole Miss, and the very next week at Tennessee. And 3 of those toss-ups come in a 4-week span where they go to Texas. And then they've got the cocktail party. Look, I know everybody's shitting on Florida or whatever. They're not good, but that's still a big game to Georgia that they're going to have to get up for. Then they go to Ole Miss, and then they got Tennessee at home. But look, I know that's you're catching that after 3 big games, and Tennessee's got arguably the best defensive line in the SEC and one of the best offensive lines, a hot young receiver like Chris was talking about. Heupel is a great offensive mind. And you're coming off 3 really tough games at Texas, Florida, at Ole Miss, and then Tennessee at home. I think they're going to take some losses, guys.
If Petty, if they do take loss, how many losses do you see them?
I think they dropped 2. I think they dropped 2 of the 4 toss-ups, guys. I think we're going to see a quagmire of 10-2 SEC teams. I think there's going to be a log jam at the top of 10-2.
Perfect. Lushan, give us your take on those puppies down there?
You know, I think the dogs down in Athens need to probably focus most of that NIL deal money off getting some of their players out on bail. But I think that Georgia actually is going to experience what it means to actually be in the SEC West this year. They're actually going to get chin checked throughout the season. Now, I'm not saying these SEC teams are going to throw big blows at them, but it's going to affect them. It's not like they're going to have a big game and then 3 cake eaters, and then they might have a decent game and they got 2 more cake eaters. They actually have some teams that could cause them issues. Maybe not necessarily beat them, but cause them enough havoc, beat their team up, challenge the fact that do they have enough depth to actually be successful throughout an SEC season, because we've seen it time and time again. An injury could cost your team a season, depending on who it is, if you don't have the proper depth at that position. Now, as Petty said, I would say they have about 4 games that are going to give them problems, and I even go further. I'd say there might be 6 games that could seriously cause them havoc just because of a roster thing, a personnel thing. These teams that they're facing are a little bit gritty, like Kentucky. Everybody sleeps on Kentucky, but they have a very, very, very physical defensive line. Yes. And as we've seen, a physical defensive line can give the Georgia Bulldogs a little bit of a scary time. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can actually maintain the level of being the top team in the SEC throughout their season, not just maybe once at the beginning, once in the middle, and then by the time the SEC championship game come and get their doors blown off by yours truly. So that's what I'm interested to see. I'm not really sure. I'm interested to see. Can the dog bark more than 3 games a season? We're going to find out.
Ooh. I love it. Ty, now I love to give you kind of off the wall questions. Let's talk about that September 28th in Tuscaloosa. What will be more important, Kirby? If Kirby loses that game, and he has to play those other 3 big games, Sark in Austin, Oxford, Mississippi, Lane Kiffin's going to be licking his chops. Do you think that will be the preferential, get the snowball effect for Kirby to, and the Georgia Dogs maybe have a pretty bad, maybe lose 3 or 4 games if they do not beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa? What are your thoughts about that?
I don't expect Georgia to lose 3 or 4 games. I think they could lose 2. But when I look at Tennessee, like Petty, you were saying that they have like a really, really dominant wide receiver. And I'm not asking this to be disrespectful. Who is it?
No, I said a good core. I don't think they have a dominant. I think they've just got a solid core.
Gotcha. Because that's an offense that if they don't have the wide receivers to do their veer and shoot offense, it's a little bit easier to key in on. Now, I am very excited for Nico, but I don't expect them to lose to Tennessee. Whenever we talk about Georgia versus Alabama, this is the interesting thing. And it's kind of the reason why I jumped in and gave that little bit of a take on Nick Saban talking about Steve Sarkisian and saying, hey, when you're going up against Sark in practice, I hated it because when we do our pattern match coverages, he puts these defensive backs in uncomfortable positions every single time. They don't really know how to react to it. What does Kirby run? Pattern match. If you're asking me which offensive mind, and there are definitely differences between DeBoer and Sark, but I think they're the closest in terms of their offensive viewpoints, their offensive philosophy, right? I think that they're very close to each other. This is going to be an X's and O's dream matchup, Alabama versus Georgia. Because for Bama, yeah, you have a lot of things you need to test, and what a better time to do it early in the season, right? I'd always love to take those type of games early. That way you know what you need to build on, and you can kind of start making as many adjustments as you can on the fly, as opposed to late, where it could genuinely end your season. Right? There's that age-old adage, lose early, not late. right? That's why I love that game, because it's all wins for Alabama. No matter what happens, it's a W. And I do think Alabama is going to shock some people. But I also think that whenever we look at this, Georgia is probably also very happy that they have Alabama early because of the question you asked, Matt, because you're going to get a preview of what Sark's going to want to do in attacking your pattern match, right? Exploiting one-on-one matchups and then attacking through the pre-snap motion. Sark's going to do all of that against Kirby's pattern match coverage. So for Kirby, you're sitting there thinking, oh, thank God I get Alabama early, because if we lose, okay, we dropped a game the first few weeks of the season. We can recuperate, go from here. We'll be fine. If you win, you're like, okay, we now have a better understanding of how to successfully defend this style of route tree, of route layering, and we take that into the Texas game with the Longhorns, which the Longhorns, listen, they may have lost some wide receivers. They have some good ones. Ryan Wingo is going to be a monster. Remember the name.
Now, I'm going to give it to our resident Georgia residents that are big-time Alabama fans, the James brothers. Dan, I'm going to go with you first because I know Chris is going to just go in on the Bulldogs. Give us your take on, Georgia playing the SEC schedule and, really them having to be buttoned up. But I'm going to set it up. Do you think Coach Saban kind of in the media day saying, listen, Georgia's going to win the SEC? You think he kind of put a target on his neck, playing a little Saban psychology with old Kirby to kind of, add a little bit more pressure to those guys?
Yeah, the better question is, do you think Kirby is gonna fall for it? Kirby knew exactly what it was.
That's a great question.
And Coach Saban, he is notorious for being able to motivate a team through the media. But as far as Georgia, now let's say, we say all the time, Alabama's still Alabama. Well, guess what? Georgia is still Georgia. Kirby Smart has really built something there. Of course, the road is much tougher. Maybe he'll learn to he'll have to learn to navigate that. But maybe one loss, two. I don't know yet if I'm ready to say that. But it's definitely a gauntlet. But it's a manageable one. It's not as tough as it seems because you got Tennessee at home. You go on the road to Ole Miss, but that's a winnable game for Georgia. They now going into Bryant-Denny and going into Austin. Those are the two games in question that I circle. So those are going to be two huge question marks. On Georgia's schedule. But other than that, they got Florida at home now. They switched it to home and home, right? If I'm correct. But I Mississippi State at home, Auburn at home, Kentucky at home. No, they go on the road to Kentucky. I'm sorry. The Clemson game, it's early. That could be a slip up, but highly unlikely. I don't think so. But one loss, I'm looking at doing the season. One loss, maybe two. But Georgia's still Georgia. They're gonna be a very formidable foe.
Chris, the floor is yours. I'm just going to let you cook on this topic.
Well, like Dan said, I mean, we have to, well, not necessarily Alabama, but the rest of college football has to give a little respect to Georgia. Because, we've been whooping their tails for the last, 16, 17 seasons. So, but in all seriousness, though, I mean, they're ranked number one for a reason. So, but I don't think that this Georgia team will be as good as the 2021 and the 2022 teams. I think they're more vulnerable because I don't think that they have that Jalen Carter or that what's your guy there? The number one pick for the Jaguars.
Trevor Lawrence.
No.
Trayvon Walker.
Trayvon Walker. Yeah, they don't have those dudes like that, they've recruited well, but nobody's shown to be like Mikael Williams is gonna be all right. But Jalen Walker was a dude, man. Like you had those two, and you had Big Davis up front, so they controlled the line of scrimmage in a lot of games for 2 years straight. But they didn't do that last year, and we saw how Texas is, man. Like if you're not getting pressure on Quinn Ewers, man, it's gonna be a long night. And as far as like a personnel in the trenches standpoint, Texas can match up well with them. Alabama can match up well with them. I think Ole Miss will feed off of that home crowd. Y'all know how crazy it gets in Oxford, man.
Oh yeah.
I think they can feed off their home crowd. So I would throw that one up as a 50-50. Worst case scenario, at the very worst, and I doubt it, Georgia 9-3 at the very worst. I expect them to win at least 10 games, but I don't see them dropping 3 and 4 games. Unless Carson Beck gets hurt or something crazy happens like that. I'm saying 10-2, 11-1. I do think that I don't think they'll have another undefeated SEC season because they don't play, like Matt said, St. Mary's School of the Substitute Teachers. So I really expect them to be in every game, but at the same time they can they can be beaten. But Ty made an interesting point, man. Kirby's gonna have to coach his butt off against Bama and Texas on the defensive side of the ball, and Ole Miss too now, because what Lane likes to do, he does it a little different. Lane likes to run you from sideline to sideline early in the game and get you tired running, then it hits you up the gut and hit you with a big play over the top. He kind of likes to lure you in sideline to sideline, bubble screen, stretch and then hit you up the gut. So if I feel like Ole Miss can get a couple of those big chunk touchdown plays, and then all bets are off, man. But if I was a betting man, I wouldn't bet on Georgia losing more than 2 games. I'd say 10-2, or whatnot to be on the safe side, but definitely possibly 11-1. But I don't see them going 12-0. If they go 12-0 this year, this will be Kirby's best coaching job.
Believe it. So, guys, what was I gonna say about those dogs? I think the best way Georgia can survive a real SEC schedule is giving them a curfew, drinking plenty of Gatorade, water, Uber. I think those things will help out a lot. I gotta throw shots out there easily. But yeah, so before we shift from Athens, let's go to our sponsor. So, guys, when you're in Bryant-Denny, September 28th, playing against those Georgia Bulldogs, you're going to need a towel to swat those dogs away. Why not get a title towel from Title Towel, a crimson title towel at wetwillsports.com. You can wave that towel like a helicopter and intimidate those Bulldogs when they bark at you. So there it is up there. Go to Title Towel. Get you one at wetwillsports.com. That is wetwillsports.com. So guys, let's shift gears back to Alabama. We know it's SEC Media Days in Dallas, Texas. The Crimson Tide, I believe, are up tomorrow. So guys, let's talk about it. The Kings of college football are rolling in tomorrow. So far it's been like, okay, but now when Alabama comes in, that's when the show starts. So guys, speaking of SEC Media Days, your wish list, what do you want to hear from and who do you want to hear from? What do you want to hear from Bama and who do you want to hear from regarding these topics? Last year we had, I forgot who it was, I think J.C. Latham still saying we're the standard, not Georgia last year, and
they won the SEC.
They proved it in the SEC championship. So to kind of carry on that tradition, what do you want to hear from our players, and what do you want to hear, and who do you want to hear from? Chris, you spoke earlier. Give us your take regarding the SEC Media Days.
Yes, I definitely want to. I just want to listen to DeBoer, man, because every time he's been in front of the camera, he's been very, very impressive. He's very thoughtful with his words. It seems like he's always prepared. But I want to hear Malachi Moore. I want to hear them talk about pretty much like how the different, because I know somebody's going to ask them the difference between the scheme from Saban coaching them and the DBs and Mo Linguist and Hischler. So I just want to see the difference, as far as like the scheme, the intensity, because I know somebody's going to ask them, because Nick Saban question is coming, but I want to hear them talk more about Kane Womack's defense, because I've always said, man, if we can really bring the intensity and lock teams down, man, we're gonna. I really don't see us. Losing, man, because I know the offense is gonna eat, man. I know the offense is gonna eat. I just want to hear them talk more about the defense side of the ball. And as far as a coach that I want to listen to, man, of course it's a Lane Train, man. Like, who doesn't want to listen to Lane Kiffin? Like he is probably the most charismatic coach in college football as far as like entertaining, from an entertainment perspective, man. You never know what's coming next, man. It's like, yes, you're hanging on the edge of your seat. I know Petty's used to it. He's a guy that you have to listen to, man. But I really want to see how he feels about his team this year. Does he feel like they can finally get over the hump and get to Atlanta, especially with not having to face Alabama this year in the West? I want to see how he feels about this team, because their body language is going to tell it all when they get up on that podium.
Great comment. Let's go to Ty. Ty, give us your take regarding your wish list regarding SEC Media Days up there, neck of the woods.
Yeah. Everybody's asked me if I'm going, and I was like, no, I'm not. I'm a homebody. I'm not going to that. But
what around the corner from you, man?
Negative. Couldn't pay me. Yeah, I don't really know what I want to hear, man. I'm just interested in hearing their view on a new endeavor, right? New coaching. But I'm going to be 100% honest with y'all guys. I'm at the point now where I've heard from the coaches. I've heard that, because this is a coaching staff that has done how many interviews, right? Like DeBoer has done a bunch of interviews. Womack has done a bunch of interviews. The players have been talked to. I just want to see it on a football field. So that's why it's like they'd have to come out with something really moving for me to be like, cool. I'm not trying to say that I'm not excited to see them. It's a great opportunity to get more publicity on yourselves, for your brand, for your team. That's awesome. I think that's amazing. But I've heard the talking. At this point, I'm just waiting for the season to start so that the play starts doing the talking as opposed to the actual words. Because the beautiful thing about a coaching switch is that you have no shortage of media interviewing these guys, of asking these guys questions, right? There's an Adam Brenneman, I believe is his name. I apologize if I butchered it. He sat down with Kalen DeBoer and Kane Womack, gave like a 40-minute interview with both of them, and that's like one of 10 that have done so. So I haven't even given any thought to what I'd want to hear from Media Day, because it's just like, okay, it's Media Day. It is what it is. I know that's pretty lackluster answer, but that's, yeah, I don't have anything.
No, it's great comment. So Ty, Lushan, I got a question for you. What do you think is going to be Kalen DeBoer's most toughest question he's going to have to address at SEC Media Days? Which he's done a lot of media. He's probably already answered these, but just want
I don't think he's going to have a tough question because let's be honest, since he's taken the job January 12th, he's been fielded with the same group of questions. What's it like stepping into the light of the GOAT? What's it like in the new program? I don't think he's going to have a difficult question. To me, he is one of the most prepared, well-spoken individuals with all the new situations he's been put in. Because I even went back last year, like Ty was saying about the Adam Brenneman interviews. I even watched his one last year in Washington, and he hit it out of the ballpark. So this man is not new to big-time news conference and situations. I actually think he's probably going to hit SEC Media Days out of the ballpark. But to dial back the last question, I don't want to hear anything. I want some of these players, and I think they got the right three going to SEC Media Days. These three aren't really talkers. These three have been in the program. They've earned their stripes time and time again. I would more so love to see these guys, when they're asked a question, just say, we're looking forward to getting the game played. I don't want them to go into any detail. I just want them to be so excited to play for Kalen DeBoer and the University of Alabama. I want them to go back and have that Jonathan Allen attitude about football. All this, we don't want to hear it. We're done with it. And I think these three have heard that, they've seen that, and they ain't gonna live that over again.
Patty, I got a great question for you. What's gonna be Hugh Freeze's toughest question he's gonna have to answer at SEC Media Days?
What U.S. city has the best massage parlor? I mean, it's going to be a tough call. There's so many. San Francisco, Tampa. I mean, it's a tough question.
Solution.
They say he's not even wearing the suit. He's wearing the robe.
You gave him an alley-oop.
You set that up on my tee for me.
Man, he coming right off a massage right up to the podium.
Hey guys, all relaxed. Cucumbers on his eyes.
Is he gonna have power on his neck too?
He may do his interview from a Texas parlor. Hey man, y'all just catch me. I got a appointment. I can't.
Hey, Patty, flat on his stomach with the camera in his face.
I mean, he did coach a game flat on his back up in the press box on a bed
right.
So everybody can look at his.
This time you're gonna be on his stomach.
Arrogant ass.
Camera going up.
Have sleep answering questions. Yeah.
Get the back. Get the back.
Yeah.
His face painted in a towel.
with his head in a little hole.
I mean, he don't want to talk about his football team. Might as well talk about something that ends happy. It ain't gonna be his football season.
Oh man! Hey, cut off
or the Georgia drinking cases.
Look, I am looking forward to some stuff out of Alabama, though. Look. Unless y'all want me to just keep making fun of Auburn, which I can do all day. But this is the first year, where it is Milroe's team. He was still going in somewhat with the competition last year. But this is his team. He's the leader. But for 15 years, we've heard Alabama players show up at this event and talk about the process. They were ingrained with what Saban had taught them. I want to hear what DeBoer's mantra is the process. How is he molding? What is the new mindset with these kids? And like Lou said, I couldn't agree more. You couldn't pick three better players. Booker being one of the best offensive linemen in the country and an obvious team leader. Malachi Moore, unsung hero that doesn't get talked about enough. Senior leadership. I mean, just the voice of the locker room, keeping it together. I really want to hear what these leaders have to say, like their time with DeBoer so far and what they echo. But as far as what I'm looking for, I look forward to how these coaches answer the question from these dumbass local yokels, because the SEC network, we get the big room. So you don't get the questions about your own team. You get the question from Al from Southwest Texas. Hey, coach, my team was really good at football last year in the Big 12, and we made it to the Final Four. Do you think my team's going to win in the SEC? They literally asked Lane Kiffin that, and I know Lane's like, I don't effing know if your team's going to win. I guess they're really good at football, probably. What the hell does that got to do? You know, but that, and then the next question, Coach, how do you think you're going to fare with Oklahoma and Texas coming? We play an SEC schedule every year. So I'm interested to see what coach absolutely finally loses his mind on the dumbass local yokel questions in the big room, because that's all we get to see is the stupid question. So it's more the entertainment from that.
Patty,
than anything.
Real quick. Who spends more money, Hugh on parlors or Kirby on his legal fees?
Ooh. Oh, man.
Tell you what, them legal fees are expensive.
Those legal fees. And when, look, a driving school ain't cheap in the state of Georgia. I don't know, man. And then you got AA on top of it.
Yeah, speeding tickets ain't either.
But
Speeding tickets, man, they just double
Hugh's
up.
hitting parlors all over the country.
Yeah.
He's hitting recruiting and massage parlors, possibly country, maybe worldwide. That plane tickets are expensive.
I don't know. We need Mike Price to come in and tell us how company cards work in strip clubs, so that we know how much they actually spend on them things.
Well, then, Lushan, you got to think he's using his miles at that point, right? So it's like,
yeah, you know, man, he's got to get some deals. Freeze ain't just going in there
on the plane. First class doesn't buy everything he likes.
I love it. I cannot wait. You guys,
I will never be allowed in the Lee County vicinity for years to come unless I go in disguise.
They got Petty's faces everywhere.
Oh, God.
Don't allow this guy in here.
Yeah. I mean, massage parlors, it's just like a wanted poster.
Speaking of
no, me no love you long time.
Speaking of wanted guys, Alabama has getting the top recruits wanting to come to Tuscaloosa. And depending on your recruiting rankings, Alabama is either number 2 or number 1, surpassing Ohio State and their checkbook. Guys, let's recap Alabama's very 5-star heavy past week, starting with our recruiting analyst, Dan James.
Man, let's see. You know, now we're gonna ask this question again that we asked when we first hired Coach DeBoer. Will he be able to recruit? You know, I think we have the answers to that. You know, now it's just fine tuning. Now we're to the point. You know, it's just July, long way to December. You know, now it's just a matter of fine tuning it. You know, we circled our target. We got guys on campus early, which I mean, hundreds of blue chips on campus early, which was tremendous, paid dividends. So we're able to establish our board, you know, and we've been hitting on our targets, guys. We've been hitting on the guys we had circled. You know, we've been making some tough decisions that we filled up the O-line board. You know, the wide receivers is taking shape. You know, we have just certain targets that we're going after, just like with quarterback. We were very patient with the quarterback. Now we got our guy, then things started taking off with the Keelan Russell. You know, then they were like, well, will Alabama get 5-stars? Now, can they recruit 5-stars? Now we're looking at what, 5 stars in the class right now. You know, it's a possibility we could end up with 7 to 8, Chris, 5 stars in this class, which is ridiculous. You know, and we're just chipping away. Now we're to the point where sometimes we make tough decisions. We process some guys. We're like, okay, but one thing that I found interesting was Courtney Morgan. He people asked him, how many are you gonna take? he said something that just makes sense. Bama's not going to turn down great players. So, if it calls for us taking 32 guys in this class, if they're the right ones, that's what we're going to do. We're just not going to turn down great players. If a guy's a culture fit, and he fits the culture and what we're looking for at a certain position, we're going to take him. So, and cream always rises to the top. And, Courtney Morgan, he's not new to building the staff and the roster. Now he just, he has more blue chip to deal with. But tremendous job, this is something I didn't see coming this early. I thought maybe, we were talking, just a month ago, we were talking about, well, can Bama finish top 5? But now, I was messing with 247 has this little feature, the class calculator. And I'm looking at, if we hit on our guys, there's no way anyone will be able to catch us, as far as number one class with, unless somebody pulls some stuff, NIL. Teams gonna come after our players at the end, with the last minute bags, thing like that. But I think we got, we would no doubt finish number one class.
Patty, I'm gonna go to you. Big in the state of Mississippi recruiting. Just go in depth about Alabama getting the commitment from Caleb Cunningham out of the great state of Mississippi.
Man, huge. The kid is special. I mean, you go last year and you signed Ryan Williams out of the state of Alabama, and the rhetoric you hear was he was the best receiver prospect out of the state since Julio Jones. Well, you hear that and you're like, damn, we got a baller. Well, the same thing's being said about Cunningham and Mississippi being the best prospect out of that state since A.J. Brown. And if you didn't know, A.J. Brown is doing quite well in the NFL right now. And the comparisons are not just the fact that he's the best since AJ. He carries a lot of the characteristics that he's got a dog in him, that football's his when it's in the air. He's got a little bit of attitude, and that's what you want a wide receiver, Matt. I'm preaching to the choir here. Wide receivers got to have a little bit of ego and swagger about him on that field, and this kid has it in spades. But on top of that, he's got the talent. I honestly believe he's the best wide receiver in this class. And for DeBoer to go in again, this guy can't recruit in the South. The South is nothing but a good old boy system. He's from the North. What does he know? He walks in the state of Mississippi into a kid that's really got a lot of local pressure to stay at home at Mississippi State, and DeBoer goes and snags him. It's just, again, man, this receiving core with a Cunningham and his ability to go, be a possession big guy, and then you got Williams, and then Odom, who's going to be man, this receiving core is about to get nasty, fellas. It already is nasty. It's just about to get nastier.
Yeah.
Ty, just give us your take on, kind of more of a, we're all Alabama fans, but what are you cover all the college football teams. Could you talk about the impact, the noise Alabama is making on the recruiting trail under Kalen DeBoer, and how, other programs are maybe saying, wow, look out for Alabama, just the impact that Alabama is rocking with this momentum?
Yeah, I mean, I came on here in March, maybe February. It was either February or March, and told y'all that I had gotten a text from someone that covers recruiting, not affiliated with Alabama, saying that Alabama is doing scary things in the background in terms of their offensive line recruiting. And he extended it, saying in recruiting as a whole. Fast forward to now, Alabama has an incredible offensive line class highlighted by Ty Haywood from Denton, Texas, where I currently sit and talking to all of you. Huge win, top 15 player in the nation. Caleb Cunningham, top 15 player in the nation. Alabama's putting people on notice, right? Because what it is they're not just recruiting the players. In fact, we just got done talking about this on my show. They're recruiting the families. And I think that that's something that a few universities out there are doing. It's not just successfully building the relationships with the players. It's successfully building relationships with the mother, with the father, with the brother, with the sister, with the aunts, with the uncles. And this Alabama staff has done phenomenal at that. And I think that's what's lending itself to a recruiting class that is as successful as it is. And listen, they're not done yet. Kalik Lockett's still on the table. And that's going to be tough to beat Texas, especially after Texas lost to Corian Moore to Oregon, right? And one of the things that I'm so happy about, just kind of as a quick aside, is that Key Russ didn't take the Oregon visit because they have a coach at Oregon whose dad is the head coach of Duncanville. Rashad Samples is out there at Oregon. He's the youngest assistant NFL coach ever, under 30 years old. His dad's the head coach at Duncanville, and that's why when DeCorian Moore committed to Oregon, everybody said NIL, and I was like, maybe, but it's deeper than that, right? It's deeper than that. They have great connections in North Texas. And listen, Bama's recruiting as well as anybody in the nation right now. And if they supplement it with wins on the field, watch out.
Ty, before I leave you, do you think, I know it's going with Lockett, I'm hearing a lot of momentum with Texas. I don't know if that's more propaganda.
I don't think it's propaganda. Listen, they lost out. You have to think of this from this perspective, gentlemen. If Bama loses in-state guys right now, I'm not really tripping about it. Why? Because Hugh Freeze has been there for a year. Lane Kiffin has been there for multiple years. Kirby's been there for multiple years. You got all these coaching staffs that can recruit in the state of Alabama that have these long-standing relationships. DeBoer and them have got to build it, and they've done fantastic. Sark's been there for years. And you have to understand from Sark's perspective, Key Russ is not going to Texas. DeCorian Moore, not going to Texas as my camera has frozen. Ty Haywood, not going to Texas. They got to pray they keep Michael Fasusi and that he doesn't go to either A&M or Oklahoma. If not, that's another 5-star not going to Texas. Jonah Williams, one of the best safety linebacker prospects, also a guy who could play in the MLB, unbelievable baseball player. Looking at Oregon. So Texas is in a position right now where they have to do a lot to try and keep these guys because they've missed out on major targets in their state line.
Great comment right there. Lushawn, I'm going to shift gears to you. Who do you think potentially regarding the Alabama could add to this number one class?
You know, you look at this staff that Kalen DeBoer's assembled. It is nothing short of amazing based off what they've done in the past, specifically talking on the offensive side of the football. You got a guy in Coach Shepard who had 3 receivers that all performed at the highest level. He got these guys drafted. What is the number one thing as a high school football player you go to college for? You want to go to the NFL. What is the absolute blueprint that not only Alabama has done time and time again, we actually have a wide receiver coach to actually sincerely back that up in the most recent way. Not to mention, he put a quarterback. And that's the most important thing these kids know with playing 7-on-7 as much as they do. They're being students of the game. They're going to commit to a college where they know that they have a quarterback that's going to be successful, that's going to be able to operate a high-octane offense, that's also going to have offensive weapons. And, yeah, there's going to be a full court press from Texas, and I fully believe that. And I know our coaches love competition. But, guys, we've done this before. We've had a recruiting class where we got 3 of the top 10 wide receivers in the class. And I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility to think we're going to do that again. Even though we have Cunningham and Latair Brooks, who are both absolutely phenomenal receivers, I think we have our sights set on at least one more, if not 2, because we got the guys to do it. Because let's face it, you can go to an Ohio State university, you can go anywhere else in the country. Are you going to get developed? Is there proof there you're going to get developed? There's absolute proof you're going to get developed. You're going to get taken care of. You're not going to get lost in the scheme of things. You're going to get taken care of at Alabama. And I think there's enough proof of that in the pudding of what's happened and gone on in the NFL the last couple of years to be like, okay, look at all these successful NFL players. Look at all these guys that have gone through Alabama in the process. Yes, they always are going to have great players, but iron sharpens iron. Do you want to go to a university that you're the top player and you might not have good corners there? Is that going to get you better? To a point. Or do you want to go to a university where you're going to have to compete against absolute savages every day in practice, which is only going to prepare you for the next level? This number one recruiting class is going to get better because we have a process. We have an instilled just bookings that have just built a foundation of that. When you come to the University of Alabama, of being a recruit, it's on the wall, guys. Trust me. I think we're going to finish the number one recruiting class, and I think possibility this might be the best class we've ever had.
Chris, I know.
Yeah.
Will we be able to get somebody that rhymes with chair?
Yes, we will, my dear. But man, the crazy thing about it, we're not done, man. It's still some big fish out there that we can further that gap. Oregon is a team to watch out for as far as because they're throwing money, man. They have their unlimited Neal money and they're just throwing it out. But I don't even think that they can catch up with us with what we have left. Getting Hayward was huge. We knew we were getting them, but to have 3 5-star offensive linemen in the fold, 3 top 26 players, and like that is sick. Like we have the potential to land 8 5-star players, man. 8. It's only like 32. Well, if you combine all the services, some are 5 stars with other services, some aren't. So probably roughly around 40, maybe 42 guys that may with some service that may be a 5-star. To have 8 of them, and it's 100 something teams in the country, and you have 8 of them, that's insane, man. And because we already knew that DeBoer was a game day coach. Now he's recruiting like this. But all I have to say is this, man. Give Courtney Morgan a raise, man. Give that guy a raise. He's deserving of a huge raise. I think he's making $500,000 right now. Give that guy 1.5, man, and keep him around. Because whatever he does on those recruiting visits, man, whatever he tells those kids and those parents, I don't know, is golden, and he needs to stay in Tuscaloosa.
Preach.
So, so whatever it takes to keep that guy home, throw whatever he wants, whatever figure he names, throw it at him. And but man, I'm appalled because a lot of people were worried, about a couple of months ago when we weren't even a top 25, ranked recruiting team. Honestly, realistically, I expect us to finish, challenge for a top 5 spot, maybe somewhere between 4 and 6 or whatnot. But to be number 1, I really honestly wasn't expecting that. Not year 1, because I thought that it was going to have to be like a prove it type of year for Coach DeBoer. And now we see that he's killing it right now.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad. Hopefully we get some good venison to add to this class. Dan, I'll end on this. Where do us in Georgia stand with Justice Terry?
Well, it's an uphill battle for Alabama. I still favor Georgia at this time, but we're gonna follow the visits. We got a big visit weekend coming up at the end of the month. We'll see who comes into town of that weekend, but it's just a matter of getting them back on campus. If we get them back on campus, the more we get them on campus, the more I like our chances. But it's still an uphill battle that we're fighting right now.
Okay, I know Bama's next big event is the Cold Summer Cookout. Heard the big time. They're working on 26 guys as well as solidifying this 25 class. So all in all, Alabama is here to make an impact on recruiting under Kalen DeBoer and keep it rolling. Roll Tide. So, guys, that's going to wrap it up for us tonight. How can they reach you, Dan, since you just ended it? how can they reach you on your social media?
Well, you can reach me on X, Twitter, whatever it's called, at the Final Whistle Dan. You catch me on Instagram, Dan James the Fourth. Catch me here every Tuesday night. Right here, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. And right here on this very channel, we got a big show tomorrow, the Crimson Dynasty, right here on this very channel. It's 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central. Y'all be sure to tune in. We got a good show tomorrow night as well.
Chris K. James, how can they reach out to you?
Well, you can find me on Facebook at Chris K. James Sr., on X at Coach Chris James, on Instagram at the final _whistle _Chris. And you can find me here every Tuesday night, man, with the best cast in America. My guys. Man, I can't wait to take a trip with you guys, man. We're gonna have to do something, man. But another great show, man. I enjoyed it tonight, fellas.
Lushawn, how can they find you, sir?
Well, they'll never be able to find me, but you can see me on X at RollLoose21. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram at Lucian Graves. And on Tuesday nights, exclusively at this part in the year, you can find me on the Bama Standard Final Whistle, surrounded by the greatest cast that's ever been assembled to talk about college football on the greatest network that's ever been assembled to talk about said college football. Tune in to the Final Whistle. Guys, I love this panel. I love all of our fans. Thanks for coming out, guys.
And before I get into my next cast, guys, don't forget, on the Bama Standard Network, we have other shows. Don't forget, tomorrow night, I believe 6:30 Central, the Crimson Dynasty, starring C. Payne, Hannah Stevens, as well as Final Whistle Dan. And Teague's Take, I believe, will be next tomorrow as well. I think he's out in SEC Media Days, so that will be interesting. And Saturday nights, talking Alabama football here on the Bama Standard Network. They do, and don't forget the Crimson Locker Room, I believe, on Sunday. So, like I said, I say all this to let you know the Bama Standard is your one-stop shop for all things Alabama football related. Ty Hayes, how can they find you, Mr. Around the Table Sports?
Yeah, you can find me at Around the Table Sports, just talking into a microphone, or on Bleach Report. So yeah, I'm pretty much all everywhere.
Ty, I need your autograph before you, you get too big time, man.
Don't shake your head.
Patty, how can they find you? And you got a roasty freeze on our way out.
And you find me on Facebook at Petty X _ Petty _ Daniel. Like my days in Tuscaloosa when I'd have a few drinks and stumble into bar to bar, I stumble on to show. I was on several of them moonlighting last week, but more than anything, I'm with my fellas here on Tuesday nights with the Avengers at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. And if I'm not there, I might be at a massage parlor poking and laughing at you. No, but hey, more than anything, for those that are left, next week we got a huge guest. Tyler Siskey is coming on the Final Whistle. If you don't know who Tyler Siskey is, he coached at Ole Miss under Hugh Freeze with Dave Womack and is a close friend with Kane Womack and has insights. But he also coached under the GOAT, Nick Saban, at Alabama. And if you've been on Twitter, you've probably seen one of his stories. Or if you were on last Saturday night, you saw him talking a little bit. But we're going to have him for the full hour. We're going to go in depth with his knowledge about the defense, what he knows about Kane, differences we're going to see. We're going to try to get some stories out of him. But, man, tell your friends, tell your wife, tell your mom, tell Charlie at the barbershop, tell your uncle, tell your auntie, tell everybody, because it's going to be a banger of a damn show. So come on out. We're getting primed for football season, man. Come out anyway. We're talking Bama. So again, Tuesday night with my boys, the Avengers. Come check us out.
Check us out. As always, it's the Final Whistle. Tune in, same time, same channel, next Tuesday night with Tyler Siski. You know we like to end on those 2 words.
Roll
Tide.
Peace. Have a
Don't
great
forget
one,
to
everybody.
pay your massage fees.
Make Bama great again.